The sun beat down on the docks of Port Royal, a shimmering haze of heat and salt air. The stench of fish, rum, and unwashed humanity hung thick in the air, a familiar perfume for the weary. Among the throngs of sailors, merchants, and dockworkers, a young cabin boy named Finn stood clutching a coil of rope, his eyes scanning the crowd with a practiced alertness. At 17, Finn had the wiry build of a boy, but the knowing eyes of an old man, a testament to years spent at sea and the harsh realities of a pirate's life. His captain, Red Jack, was a man more legend than flesh, a figure of fearsome reputation who ruled his crew with a balance of iron discipline and surprising fairness. Unlike most pirate captains who hoarded their wealth, Jack believed in a shared bounty, a system that earned him fierce loyalty. His ship, the Sea Serpent, a sleek frigate with black sails, was currently taking on supplies. Finn's attention was caught by a commotion near a bread stall. A woman, her face etched with a desperate sadness, was trying to barter a small tarnished silver ring for a loaf of bread. The baker, a portly man with flour-dusted hands, shook his head dismissively. "That trinket won't feed you, widow. Move on." The woman's shoulders slumped. She was young, no older than 20, but her simple linen dress was ragged and a thin, sickly boy clung to her skirt. Her beauty was undeniable, though faded by hunger and despair. Her eyes, the color of a stormy sea, held a flicker of pride that refused to be extinguished. Finn felt a familiar pang in his chest. He had known such hunger himself before the Sea Serpent had become his home. The baker began to shove her away, and a group of rowdy sailors nearby started to laugh, their cruel amusement echoing in the crowded street. It was then that Finn stepped forward, his voice a low, steady rumble that cut through the noise. "Leave her be," he said, placing a single gold coin on the baker's counter. The baker's eyes widened, the greed replacing his disdain. "Give her the bread, and then some. A man who won't help a woman in need doesn't deserve a full belly." The baker, seeing the coin and the flash of a cutlass at Finn's hip, quickly handed the woman not just one loaf, but 3. The woman, stunned, looked at Finn. I can't repay you," she stammered, her voice soft and trembling. Finn gave her a small, kind smile. "You don't have to, ma'am. Some things are worth more than coin." He nodded towards her, a respectful gesture, and returned to his post, leaving her to stare after him, the loaves of bread cradled in her arms like a fragile treasure. Later that evening, as the Sea Serpent prepared to set sail, Finn saw her again. She was standing on the very edge of the dock, the sick boy wrapped in a blanket beside her. As the ship's massive form began to move, she lifted her hand, and in her palm glinted the silver ring. She didn't throw it, didn't offer it, but simply held it up, a silent, heartfelt thank you across the fading light. Finn understood the gesture. It wasn't just a ring. It was a piece of her life, a last vestige of her dignity. He looked at the ring, then back at her face, and for a moment, the chaotic noise of the port faded away. In that quiet exchange, a connection was forged, a silent promise to a woman whose only treasure was her own survival. He didn't know it then, but his simple act of kindness had set a course far more perilous than any storm the Caribbean could conjure. 2 weeks at sea, and the memory of the woman on the dock still lingered in Finn's thoughts. The Sea Serpent was a well-oiled machine of a ship, her crew a tight-knit family of outlaws. There was Silas, the grizzled quartermaster who taught Finn navigation, and Maria, a tough-muscled woman who handled a musket with deadly precision and had a sharp wit to match. They were more than a crew. They were a community forged by shared hardship and a common rejection of society's rules. The routine was a rhythm of endless chores, mending sails, scrubbing the deck, and standing watch under the blazing sun and the cool, star-filled nights. It was during his midnight watch that a lookout spotted a light on the horizon. Not a lighthouse, but a signal flare. Captain Jack, ever cautious, ordered the ship to change course. They found a small merchant sloop, battered and listing heavily, its sails tattered and its masts splintered. A storm had torn it apart, leaving a handful of survivors clinging to the wreckage. Among them, miraculously, was the woman from Port Royal. Her name, she told them once she was safely aboard, was Ilara. The sick boy was her younger brother, Thomas. They were fleeing a cruel debt collector who had taken their home and everything they owned after their father, a cartographer, had died. The silver ring Finn had refused was the only thing of value they had left. The sea serpent became a sanctuary. The ship's surgeon, a quiet man named Dr. Alistair, tended to Thomas's fever, and the crew, surprisingly gentle, provided Ilara with food and dry clothes. She was a woman of quiet strength, a stark contrast to the boisterous pirates around her. She didn't cower or flinch. Instead, she watched and learned, her eyes taking in every detail of life aboard a pirate vessel. The crew was wary at first. A woman on board was seen as a bad omen by some, but Ilara's calm resilience and gentle care for her brother won them over. Finn found himself drawn to her, seeking her out on the deck to talk. She spoke of her father's maps, of the islands he had charted, and the secret coves he had sketched. She had a keen mind and an eye for detail, and Finn saw in her not just a victim, but a potential partner in the grand, dangerous game of the sea. One evening, as the twin moons cast a silver path across the water, Ilara shared her father's last secret with Finn. "He left a map," she whispered, "not to gold, but to a hidden bay on an island few have ever seen. He said it was a place of safety, a refuge from the world. He wanted me to have a place to start over." Finn's heart pounded. A place of safety. A concept foreign to a pirate's life. He knew Captain Jack had been searching for such a place, a hidden haven where his crew could live, without fear of the noose. The map wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a future. It was a chance for a new life. Their conversation was cut short by a shout from the crow's nest. "Sail on the horizon, merchant sloop and 2 more behind it." Panic rippled through the crew. 3 ships? This was no ordinary catch. "The Flying Serpent," a crew member muttered, a name that struck fear into the hearts of even the most hardened pirates. Led by the notorious Captain Thorn, the Flying Serpent was known for its brutality and for never leaving a survivor. Captain Jack's face was grim. "Prepare for a fight," he ordered, his voice low and firm. "We'll need to outrun them, or we'll have to fight our way through." As the cannons were readied and the sails were trimmed, Finn looked at Ilara, her face pale but determined. He saw the same look in her eyes as he had seen on the docks, a pride that refused to be broken. This wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a battle for their hope. The battle was a symphony of destruction. Cannon fire roared, a thunderous exchange of iron and fury that tore through the Caribbean air. Splintering wood shrieked like a dying creature, and the acrid smoke from burning gunpowder choked the lungs, a thick fog of war that clung to every breath. Captain Thorn, a figure of pure menace with a jagged scar across his eye, was relentless. His pursuit was not for gold, but for vengeance. He wasn't chasing treasure, he was hunting the sea serpent and its crew, driven by a personal vendetta against Red Jack that had simmered for years, a dark debt to be settled on the open sea. The sea serpent, a vessel built for speed and cunning, danced through the chaos. She was swift and nimble, a black shadow against the setting sun. Captain Jack, a master tactician, barked orders that were followed with deadly precision. They outmaneuvered one of Thorn's pursuing ships, a well-placed shot to its rigging, sending it spinning helplessly, its mast a broken monument to their defiance. But the Flying Serpent was a beast of a ship, a leviathan of the sea, larger and armed with more guns. It was closing in, a monstrous predator with a single-minded purpose. During the melee, Ilara proved herself not as a helpless passenger, but as a true member of the crew. Fear had no place in her eyes. It had been replaced by a fierce, focused determination. She moved with surprising speed and grace, her simple linen dress a stark contrast to the rough-spun clothes of the pirates. She passed ammunition with swift efficiency, her small hands loading the heavy cannonballs as if she had been born to it. She tended to the wounded alongside Dr. Alistair, her touch gentle but firm as she wrapped bandages and offered sips of water. She even helped to brace a cannon, her small frame straining against the ropes as she steadied the massive gun, her focus absolute. She was a natural, a woman transformed by the brutal reality of their fight for survival. But the odds were stacked against them. A final crippling blow from Thorn's ship tore a gaping hole in the sea serpent's hull. The impact was bone-shaking, a shudder that ran through the entire vessel. Water rushed in, a torrent of cold, unforgiving sea, and the ship groaned in protest, a death rattle of splintering timbers and groaning metal. "Abandon ship!" Captain Jack's voice was a low, powerful roar that cut through the noise of the battle. "Head for the small boat. We'll make a stand on shore." As the crew scrambled to the rowboat, a frantic race against the rising water, Finn looked back and saw Ilara helping a wounded crewman, a young man named Elias. He rushed to her side, grabbing her arm, his face a mask of desperation. "Leave him, Ilara. We have to go." "No, he's hurt. We can't just leave him," she insisted, her voice tight with panic, her hands still trying to lift Elias. The water was now lapping at their feet, a chilling reminder of their dwindling time. Finn knew they were out of time. He grabbed her arm, his grip firm, his voice a desperate whisper that was lost in the chaos. "We can't save everyone, but we can save this. We have a chance, Ilara. We have your map." The map, her father's last gift, was their only hope, a tangible future in a world of sinking ships and broken dreams. She hesitated for a moment, looking from the dying ship to Finn's pleading eyes. The wounded man, with a grunt of pain, understood. He pushed her towards the boat with the last of his strength. "Go! Live for us!" he rasped, his eyes filled with a sad acceptance. As they rowed away, the sea serpent slipped beneath the waves, a final defiant groan echoing across the water. The remaining crew, huddled in the small boat, watched their home vanish, a silent testament to the price of their survival. But as the last bubbles broke the surface, they still had each other, and they had hope. Ilara's map, a simple sketch passed down from her father's knowing hands, led them to a hidden cove nestled between towering cliffs. The cliffs were a natural fortress, protecting the bay from the turbulent sea. The water was clear and calm, a tranquil pool reflecting the sky, and a small, pristine beach curved around the edge of a lush jungle. A freshwater spring trickled down a rock face, a constant, gentle melody of life in this new world. It was a true oasis in a hostile world, a place untouched by war or greed, a new beginning. As the crew stepped onto the sand, a profound silence fell over them. The sounds of battle were gone, replaced by the gentle lapping of waves and the rustle of leaves. Captain Jack, his face a mix of sorrow for his lost ship and wonder at this new land, looked at Ilara. "A true treasure," he said, his voice raw with emotion. He wasn't talking about gold or jewels, but of a place they could finally call their own, a sanctuary from the life they had always known. Ilara stood with Finn, looking out at the endless sea. Her brother, Thomas, was sleeping soundly, his fever finally broken, his breathing steady and peaceful. She took Finn's hand, her fingers intertwining with his, a silent acknowledgement of their shared journey. They had lost everything they knew, but in its place they had found something infinitely more valuable, a community, a home, and the promise of a future built not on plunder, but on peace. And so, with the sun setting on their new horizon, the pirates of the Sea Serpent began to build their sanctuary. The story of Ilara, the woman who traded a ring for a future, became a legend whispered around campfires, a testament to the fact that even in the darkest of times, true treasure is found not in coin, but in the people you choose to protect.